I'm here. My clock says 3:01. Taking off my mask. How's everybody? Let me get situated. How's that? I was going to turn down the fan. Maybe you can't hear it. It'd be good if you couldn't, because it feels awfully good. Welcome to Frankenstein Tea. This is a daily program brought to you by the Island Free Library. It is an afternoon check-in with stories for adult listeners. We started it during shelter in place a few months ago, and here we are today carrying forward. It's a way for me to stay connected to you and for you to stay connected to the library. It's also a chance for you to sit back and relax and listen to a story. Maybe something you've never heard before, maybe be exposed to a new writer, a new genre, exploring the form of short story. All those things happen at Frankenstein Tea. I see my dad's there. Hi, Dad. I'd like to say, in case anybody's new to Frankenstein Tea, it came from this feeling of wanting to be connected and what do we do during this COVID time. And I wanted to do something for adults because we were running a lot of kid programs and family programs. Miss Morgan, our youth services librarian, was pretty much on the ball and up to speed with all of that very quickly. So I wanted to put something together for adults. I love short stories, so that was kind of an easy way to do that. And I named it Frankenstein Tea in reference to the fact that we could sit down, take a time out, and have some tea together. Can you hear that? That was an airplane. And we'll continue to do that, have tea together. I'll be making sun tea soon enough. This was hot tea that sort of went cold, but I'm not giving up on it because it's at the bottom and it's got that yummy Block Island honey at the bottom. So good. So that's the tea reference. And the Frankenstein reference was to a few things. One was that this was such a monster of a time and such a monster of a virus and just a monster trying to get through the day every day, as well as this idea of what's permissible to read and record. And Frankenstein is over 100 years old, which is how our current copyright laws read. This idea that it's in the public domain and you could read it and so forth. Well, I quickly strayed away from that, started breaking all the rules. I don't read something that's always permissible in that sense. But since I consider this a reader's advisory program, a short story book club, some reference to literature and stories and writers and authors, and I try to expose listeners to different forms and formats and maybe deeper our understanding on a variety of topics. I'm hoping it's okay with all those publishers. We'll see. I do reference the publisher and the author each time. And again, of course, there's no monetization of this program. So again, I'm hoping there's a little bit of leeway there during this monster of a time. So that's Frankenstein Tea and a little bit of its history. It happens every day at 3 p.m. live. Of course, you're welcome to listen anytime that is convenient for you. Anytime you want to hear a short story. And if you don't like today's, go back and listen to yesterday's or the day before's or so on and so forth. I've been at it for months. I read every day at 3. So there is quite a chunk of Frankenstein Tea on our YouTube channel. So please indulge and enjoy. It's another beautiful day on Block Island. It seems like there's gray clouds every now and then, but it still is beautiful. I've been in this building all day. I've had a busy day, and I'm going to be here for a little bit longer tonight, but I'm getting through my day, so that's good. And I hope you all are as well, right? This, again, is a check-in. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. That's what I teach the yogis when they come to my kid yoga class. Take some breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. See if you can Extend those inhales and extend those out breaths, exhales. Maybe be a little conscious of that during this story. Maybe that'll be your yogic breath for today. Maybe you've done other yogic breath today. How lovely. Today I'm reading from a book called In the Driver's Seat, Stories by Helen Simpson. In the Driver's Seat, Stories by Helen Simpson, published by Alfred A. Knopf in 2007. I read a few of these today, and when I was reading through them, I realized I had read one already, but I don't think I chose to read it for Frankenstein Tea. So I think this could be the first time I've read from this book, although I might have read you that other story that I recognized today. I'm not sure, but I haven't read you this. So this is Helen Simpson. Up at a villa. They were woken by the deep-chested bawling of an angry baby. Wrenched from wine-dark slumber, the four of them sat up, flustered, hair stuck with pine needles, gulping awake with little light breaths of concentration. They weren't supposed to be here. They remembered that. They could see the baby by the side of the pool, not 20 yards away, a furious geranium in its parasol-shaded buggy, and the large, pale woman sagging above it in her bikini. Half an hour ago, they had been masters of that pool, racing topless and tipsy round its borders, lithe Nick chasing sinewy Tina and wrestling her in equal match, grunting, snaky, toppling, crashing down into the turquoise depths together. Neither of them would let go underwater. They came up fighting in a chlorinated spume of diamonds. Joe, envious, had tried a timid imitation grapple, but Charlotte was having none of it. "Get off," she snorted, kind, mocking, and slipped neatly into the pool via a dive that barely broke the water's skin. Joe, seeing he was last as usual, gave a foolish bellow and launched his heavy self into the air, his aimless belly slapping down disastrously like an explosion. After that, the sun had dried them off in about a minute. They had devoured their picnic of piscadilliere and peaches, downed the bottles of pink wine, and gone to doze in the shade behind the ornamental changing screen. Now they were stuck. Their clothes and money were heaped under a bush of lavender at the other end of the pool. "Look," whispered Tina as a man came walking toward the baby and its mother. "Look, they're English. He's wearing socks." "What's the matter with her now?" said the man, glaring at the baby. "How should I know?" said the woman. "I mean, she's been fed. She's got a new nappy." "Oh, plug her on again," said the man crossly, and wandered off toward a cushioned chaise lounge. "That noise goes straight through my skull." The woman muttered something they couldn't hear and shrugged herself out of her bikini top. They gasped and gaped in fascination as she uncovered huge brown nipples on breasts like wheels of camembert. "Oh, gross," whispered Tina, drawing her lips back from her teeth in a horrified smirk. "Be quiet," hissed Nick, as all of them heaved with giggles and snorts, and their light eyes popped, over emphatic in faces baked to the color of flower pots. They had crept into the grounds of this holiday villa, one of a dozen or more on this hillside, at Slippery Nick's suggestion, since everything was fermé le lundi down in the town, and they had no money left for entrance to hotel pools or even to beaches. Anyway, they had fallen out of love over the last week with the warm soup of the Mediterranean, its filmy surface bobbing with polystyrene shards and other unsavory orts. Harvey, called the woman, sagging on the stone bench with the baby at her breast. Harvey, I wish you'd. Now what is it? Said Harvey testily, making a great noise with his 2-day-old copy of The Times. Some company, she said with wounded pathos. That's all. Company, he sighed. I thought the idea was to get away from it all. I thought we'd have a chance to talk on holiday, said the woman. All right, said Harvey, scrumpling up the Times and exchanging his chaise lounge for a place on the stone bench beside her. All right. So what do you want to talk about? Us, said the woman. Right, said Harvey. Can I have a swim first? And he was off, diving clumsily into the pool, losing his poise at the last moment so that he met the water like a flung cat. She's hideous, whispered Tina. Look at that gross stomach. It's all in folds. She glanced down superstitiously at her own body, the high breasts like halved apples, the handspan waist. He's quite fat too, said Charlotte. Love handles anyway. I'm never going to have children, breathed Tina. Not in a million years. Shush, said Joe, straining forward for the next installment. The husband was back from his swim, shaking himself like a Labrador in front of the nursing mother. Us, he said humorously, wiggling a finger inside each ear, then drubbing his hair with the flats of his hands. Fire away, then. She started immediately, as if she knew she had only 2 or 3 minutes of his attention, and soon the air was thick with phrases like once she's on solids, and you'd rather be reading the paper, and is it because you wanted a boy? He looked dull but resigned, silent except for once protesting. What's so special about bath time? Flailing around, pulling cliches from the branches. At some subliminal level, each of the eavesdropping quartet recognized their own mother's voices and hers and glazed over. You've never moaned on like this before, marveled Harvey at last. You were always so independent, organized. You think I'm a mess? She said. A failure as a mother? Well, you're obviously not coping, he said, at home all day, and you can't even keep the waste bins down. Nick and Tina were laughing with silent violence behind the screen, staggering against each other, tears running down their faces. Joe was mesmerized by the spectacle of lactation. As for Charlotte, she was remembering another unwitting act of voyeurism, a framed picture from a childhood camping holiday. It had been early morning. She'd gone off on her own to the village for their breakfast baguettes, and the village had been on a hill like in a fairy tale, full of steep little flights of steps, which she was climbing for fun. The light was sweet and glittering, and so she looked down over the rooftops. She saw very clearly one particular open window, so near that she could have lobbed in a 10-franc piece, and through the window she could see a woman dropping kisses onto a man's face and neck and chest. He was lying naked in bed, and she was kissing him lovingly and gracefully, her breasts dipping down over him like silvery peonies. Charlotte had never mentioned this to anyone, keeping the picture to herself, a secret snapshot protected from outside sniggerings. The loss of romance, bleated the woman, starting afresh. We haven't changed, said Harvey stoutly. Yes, we have. Of course we have. Rubbish. But we're supposed to change. It's all different now. The baby's got to come first. I don't see why, said Harvey. Mustn't let them rule your life. The baby had finished at last and was asleep. The woman gingerly detached her from her body and placed her in the buggy. Cheer up, said Harvey, preparing for another dip. Once you've lost a bit of weight, it'll all be back to normal. Romance, etc. Get yourself in shape. You don't fancy me anymore? She wailed in a last-ditch attempt to hold him. No, of course I do, he said, eyeing the water. It's just a bit different from before. Now that you've gone all, sort of floppy. That did it. At the same moment as the woman unloosed a howl of grief, Nick and Tina released a semi-hysterical screech of laughter. Then, run, said Joe, and they all shot off around the opposite side of the pool, snatching up their clothes and shoes and purses at the other end. Harvey was meanwhile shouting, "Hoy! Hoy! What the hell do you think you're playing at?" While his wife stopped crying and his daughter started. The four of them ran like wild deer, leaping low bushes of lavender and thyme, whooping with panicky delight, lean and light and half naked, or more accurately, 9/10 naked, through the pine trees and après-midi dabbling. They ran on winged feet, and their laughter looped the air behind them like chains of bubbles in translucent water. High up on the swimming pool terrace, the little family, frozen together for a photographic instant, watched their flight open-mouthed, like the ghosts of summers past, or, indeed, of summers yet to come. That was a short story by Helen Simpson from In the Driver's Seat. That short story was called Up at a Villa. I hope you enjoyed it. Perhaps it gave you some sort of taste of summer. Maybe some of you have already been swimming. Maybe it's on your mind. Maybe not. Maybe those are just memories. Thanks for coming to Frankenstein Tea. I'm back every day at 3 p.m. on this YouTube channel, brought to you by the Island Free Library. Have a great afternoon.